China, a nation that has built more highways, dams, and bridges than any other nation before, urgently needs massive megaprojects to maintain its tremendous population growth. China has significantly increased its investment in recent years. While some of these new projects are domestic in nature, many others are part of China's Global Belt and Road Initiative, which intends to build a trading network of ports and rail lines across several developing countries. Many of these projects are so expensive and technologically advanced that they defy all expectations. So get your passports and checkbooks ready as we fly through China's insanely large mega projects. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we'll look at China's insanely large mega projects. Please like, share, and subscribe. China's insane high-speed rail network. Number 5 is the China Insane High-Speed Rail Network. In October 2010, China set a new world record for the fastest bullet train. This train runs 200 kilometers between Hangzhou and Shanghai in less than 45 minutes. 2 years later, in 2012, China opened the world's longest high-speed railway, stretching from Beijing to Guangzhou. This reduced a 24-hour rail trip to one-third of the time, at 8 hours. China is leading a quiet revolution in high-speed rail. Since 2008, the country has finished 8,000 kilometers of rail. To put this in perspective, it takes 40,000 miles to circumnavigate the globe. Railways are an essential component of modern economies and a symbol of economic progress. China aspires to connect itself at every turn. China has developed tracks in harsh climates, ranging from the Gobi Desert to the ice city of Harbin. Railway lines are already ready for cities that have yet to be created. The Xiongnu area is a city that will be established in 2035, but is now accessible by the Beijing-Xiong intercity train. This is a similar technique to European colonizers in North America who built railway lines for towns and cities they hope to establish later in January 2022. The freaking bullet train carried its passengers without the assistance of a driver. It was the world's first ever autonomous bullet train. However, China's railway revolution is not without rivals. Japan has broken the record for the fastest bullet train ever built. You can travel at 602 kilometers per hour. But China is still in a league of its own in terms of the magnitude and scope of its high-speed rail. The largest telescope in the world. Number 4 is the biggest radio telescope in the world. Nan Rendong, one of China's top astronomers, had a vision in 1994. He wanted China to have its own radio telescope, similar to the U.S. Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. At the time, the largest telescopes available in China were only 25 meters in diameter. But Rendong wanted something bigger. Rendong and his crew spent 10 years looking for a suitable spot in southwest China to build a new radio telescope, eventually coming across the Daodang Depression in Pingtan, where it is now located. This was a bowl-shaped valley that could support the weight of the telescope while also allowing groundwater to drain from its sides. The radio telescope was finally built in 2016, more than 20 years after its initial design proposal, and it is now the world's largest telescope with a 500-meter diameter and over 4,000 aluminum panels that can all be independently rotated to focus on radio waves in space. The hilly terrain was chosen because there are no settlements nearby, and it is relatively remote. Nonetheless, the project was not without controversy. Villagers living nearby had to be compensated with either cash or homes. Ironically, the budget for this relocation was around $230 million, which cost more than the telescope itself. The China telescope is being used to look at fast radio bursts, which are mysterious flashes that erupt in milliseconds and generate more energy than the sun does in a year. It discovered its first pulsar in 2017, and over 660 others have been discovered since then. According to some researchers, these signals could be evidence of advanced alien life. Nan Rendong was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2016. Despite his condition, he flew 2,000 kilometers from Beijing to Guizhou in September 2016 to see the completion of his 22 years of study and research. This telescope will carry on his legacy. Chengdu Tianfu International Airport. Number 3. Chengdu Tianfu International Airport. While the city of Chengdu, China, may not be all that familiar to many people, it happens to be one of China's most important industrial centers. But at the moment, this 18 million person populated city of Chengdu is served by only one airport, which was responsible for the movement of approximately 55.9 million passengers in 2019, making it one of China's busiest airports and the 25th busiest airport in the world. As a result, the CCP decided that Chengdu needed a new airport, and in June 2021, the Chengdu Tianfu International Airport, located 51 kilometers southeast of Chengdu city center, was finally completed. The airport has 6 level 4-lane runways, 2 terminal buildings, and the capacity to accommodate 80 to 100 million people per year. The airport is designed in the shape of a sunbird, a mythical creature that serves as a sort of mascot for the city, and the giant sunbird covers an area of 330,000 square meters, which is the equivalent of approximately 46 standard football fields. To top it all off, the airport has 5 floors above ground and 2 below ground that are filled with restaurants and shops, so that travelers can wait for their flights in luxury. Despite this airport coming in with a hefty $11 billion price tag, it was definitely worth the money. Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway. Number 2 is the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Rail Route. Indonesia is one of Southeast Asia's most important emerging economies, so it should come as no surprise that China has made the country an important part of its Belt and Road Initiative. The plan is for this 142-kilometer-long railroad to connect the country's 2 largest cities, Jakarta and Bandung. And while this $8 billion project has been delayed due to COVID-19, it was completed by late 2022. The cool thing about this railway is that it will make it far easier to get between the 2 cities. As the current journey takes about 3 hours, this new train will cut that time frame down to 30 minutes. As such, it will likely be an extremely important piece of infrastructure once it is finally up and running. However, what makes this project unique is that it was the subject of a heated geopolitical battle, since, while the track was still in the planning stages, both Japan and China intended to build the railway using their own technology in order to impose control over the country. While the Japanese proposal offered a faster, more expensive train line, China's proposal was far more appealing because, while it proposed a slower train, it was also much cheaper. And to sweeten the deal, the Chinese government promised to pay for the entire project, rather than forcing the Indonesian government and to guarantee the project with loans if it went over budget. As a result, Indonesia chose the Chinese over the Japanese. The Three Gorges Dam. The first Chinese megaproject to be finished was the Three Gorges Dam, which has been the subject of the most controversy. Built between 1994 and 2012 at a cost of over $31 billion, the Three Gorges Dam is the largest and most powerful power plant in the world and produces between 75 and 115 terawatt-hours of energy annually. However, the Three Gorges Dam also caused a lot of problems because it was built with the intention of allowing water to flow from the mountains to the sea. You see, a tract of land 1,100 square kilometers in size had to be completely cleared out in order to build a large enough water reservoir. This required the complete evacuation of about 1,600 villages, 140 towns, and 13 cities, as well as between 1.3 and 2 million other people. However, because of government corruption, very little of the compensation intended for these victims ever made it to them. Additionally, it should be noted that from an ecological standpoint, the effects of the Gorges Dam were absolutely catastrophic, because the flooding of such a large area of land and the damming of the natural flow of the river led to the extinction or near extinction of species, with the most notable being the Chinese river dolphins, Chinese alligators, and Chinese tigers. This flooding resulted in the complete destruction of nearly 1,300 historical sites, one of the most prominent being the nearly 2,000-year-old Zhangfei Temple, which was eventually deconstructed and moved to higher ground. But perhaps worst of all has been the dam's geological impact due to its sheer size, which has put pressure on the tectonic plates underneath, and this has made earthquakes about 30 times more prevalent in the area of China. The Ministry of Land Resources even admitted in 2012 that there had been quite 70% more landslides and bank collapses in the area than had been predicted. And when you consider that the dam was built with substandard concrete and that the water reservoir nearly overflowed its banks in 2020, it's not hard to see why many experts believe this mega project will collapse one day. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any other mega projects in China or elsewhere that you would like us to cover, please let us know in the comments below. If you want to learn more about similar projects, please like and subscribe.